Now I'd like to demonstrate milking a cow, or at least obtaining milk samples from a cow. The first thing to remember is the approach to the cow. You always want to be sure to approach the cow so that she knows you're coming. It's not the first thing that you touch when you get to her mammary gland. And then you get your hand down around the teat, and you can strip milk out by just holding the teat between your thumb and forefinger and stripping down the teat such as that. You can also cup your hand around the teat like this, and then in a pulsating motion close your fingers in a coordinated manner so that you start putting pressure at the base of the teat in this area, gradually putting more down the teat. So you close off the top, and then the bottom of the teat is milked out. Now we often ask students to check for the presence of mastitis. And mastitis can be examined in several ways. The health of the mammary gland can first of all be evaluated fairly well by palpation and by visual observation to look for asymmetry. In palpating the mammary gland, we should always try to press one hand against the other with mammary tissue interposed. Another method is to use a simple black plate. Some black dish such as this one happens to have a drain off one side, and it simply provides a black background upon which you can evaluate milk. The proper technique in evaluating milk from all four quarters with a black plate is to milk a little bit of milk, maybe one squirt, into this teat cup, the black plate, and look at the milk against this black background for evidence of flakes and asymmetry. Then you look at this first quarter secretion, then you save some of that milk. The second quarter you milk right into the same pool as you have with the first quarter, and if you see an interface, that indicates that there probably is some change in constituents, particularly if it's a little more watery. And then we go to a third quarter, strip some milk once more into that same pool. And not only can you evaluate it against the black background, but by rocking it gently back and forth, you can see whether there is a line of demarcation or whether it homogeneously mixes. And then finally, the last quarter, and this one I want to show mixing because there is a line of demarcation here. And I'd like the camera from straight down on top of this time. Here's the milk from a normal quarter. It shows that it's homogeneous when it's rocked gently back and forth in the light. No flakes, it's homogeneous. Now I'm going to save that pool. I'm going to get milk from another quarter. And I think you can observe right along this area and also over here that there are areas that don't totally mix. The milk from that secretion, the secretion from that quarter is not homogeneous with the first, and that indicates that one of them is abnormal. You wouldn't see that subtle difference if you just milked it on the floor or in your hand or on your boot. Now I'm going to use another method, which is a California mastitis test, which utilizes this paddle. You put a small amount of milk from each of the four quarters in this, and then you put in some chemical reagent. We first of all obtain some milk from each of the four quarters. And as long as you hold this paddle conventionally, you always know which quarter has which milk in it. Now, we can tip this sideways and let a little bit run off so that we have them filled at approximately the same level. Now we take some California mastitis test reagent, which is brome cresol purple, as an indicator. And we put some of this purple reagent in with each quarter secretion, again about equal portions, and then mix them by swirling motion. And what we look for is a gel that forms. We look for more a reaction between the milk and the reagent. In this case, both rear quarters, which are the two over here, are about normal. It looks like it mixes fairly well, and it runs down off the edge normally. In contrast, these two front quarters both have a considerable amount of gelatinous material and would probably be classed as a CMT2 on a scale that goes trace 1, 2, and 3. A 3 stands up much more than this. A 1 is just a very subtle change. It's the combination of a California mastitis test and a black plate evaluation that gives the best overall evaluation of mastitis in the cow when coupled with the physical exam findings of palpation and observation for symmetry. And the final step, whenever you evaluate a cow's mammary gland, is to use a teat dip to seal up the teats so that you haven't opened the cow's teats for possible invasion of bacteria, and I'll demonstrate that also. Here we have this particular teat dip is called teat shield. We have it in a plastic container. We simply come down here on the teats, cover the teats well so that they are thoroughly covered and the end of the teat canal is no longer exposed for bacterial invasion.